with members of parliament so that we understand the importance of industry and how it can impact on everybody. Secondly is to meet the governors and also the MCA, not the MCAs, the CCs in charge of trade. Because finally, these are the people who will be taking up that. And then together, if we all align, then I'm sure we will be able to make a good outcome out of it. The Honorable Mishi, the issue of replicating leather industry and value addition, I think we are essentially a meat-eating nation. If you look at our nyama choma culture and you imagine how many hides we get out of it, yet our reputation in the shoe business, in the leather business, remains very shaky. So there is a missing link between that nyama choma culture and the shoe industry. So again, we want to work with the stakeholders in the industry. And as I said earlier, government must look for a way of identifying maybe 2 or 3 major players and facilitating them so that we become a serious shoemaker, not just for Kenya, but also for the region. We have our police, we have everybody, and government being the biggest spender. If we can commit that to giving our local companies, then that can change the dynamics. But Mr. Chairman, looking at all these things together with the others that we have said, oh, my apology, there was a question on sugarcane. Dongo Kundu. I want to say that of all the special economic zones that the government is working on, this is the closest to the port, and it has very huge opportunities. And just last week, I'm not allowed to meet people who want to brief me, but I had 3 people who are dying to come and meet me, and I told them, wait until I'm vetted, and they insisted. So when they came, they said they want to go there, but sometimes maybe just getting that go-ahead sometimes has been difficult. So I want to take this opportunity to say all investors for Dongo, Kundu, and other places are welcome to the office, and we should be able to link up with the members of parliament for those respective areas so that the public also is aware of what is coming up. And on the issues of governance, which has sometimes been an impediment, I want to assure Kenyans they will be coming to get an officer who is ready to serve their nation. Lastly, on the issue of sugarcane, maybe just to say that I am not very familiar with the exact status of what percentage you're able to produce locally, but I think this is an area we can work to try and increase production so that our people do not have to rely on imported sugar. In fact, in my view, in a few years, we should be thinking of reversing that. But allow me to touch on the issue of palm oil, which is essentially a component you require to make your cooking oil. And the import is actually from Malaysia, which enjoys a similar, and Indonesia, similar climatic conditions as your average Mombasa, parts of Nyanza, and so on. And therefore, there is nothing climatically to say they can't grow there. But you have religiously imported from those countries, and therefore we need now to say, how can we turn our coastal belt into a palm oil belt? And I think this is where we need to work with members of parliament for those areas and agree that if you want to process these kind of products, you must start a plantation or even have outgrowers, and maybe working with other seed companies, produce varieties that can work there. And I think these are practical solutions, and it is widely believed that when those countries were starting their palm oil industry, they got advice from us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chair.
Thank you. Yes, Mule.
Thank you, nominee Lee. There's a question being posed to you by the public that Kenya is one of the countries whereby is suffering what is being called capital export or capital flight, or money generated locally and end up in different. Why? Because of contractors and because of businessmen who are not of Kenyan origin. So the public is asking, as a minister if approved for investment, trade and industry, what are you going to do to reverse this norm? Because it has really impacted our economy badly for the last several years, whereby people come and do business, get paid using taxpayers' money.
Are you asking a question on behalf of the public?
Yes,
Or you
yes.
are making a speech?
No, I'm asking on behalf of the public.
Okay.
Yeah, and I stated very clearly.
Okay.
So the public want to know, what are you going to do as the Minister for Trade Investment to make sure that we stop this capital export, please?
Thank you.
Can I ask, on behalf of the public, just one question?
Yes,
very
one.
short.
Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, to the nominee, you know the history of retail business in this country. We had Uchumi, it collapsed. We had Nakumatt, it collapsed. We had Tuskys, went the same way. ShopRite came into this country shortly and left. Now we have Naivas and Carrefour. What are you going to do to stabilize the retail business in this country so that we do not continue, one, lose all our Kenyan local-grown retailers and attract others, but also ensure that the stability. There are other smaller ones that are coming up. What are you going to do when you given the opportunity to ensure the stability and they grow and they actually take over the Kenyan market? Thank you.
There are two questions from members of the public. One is that in 2018, during your tenure as the governor of Nakuru, there were concerns raised about your office spending 43 million on foreign trips. As nominee for Cabinet Secretary, how will you ensure a balance between conducting necessary international and regional trade engagements and maintaining transparency and cost effectiveness as you use public resources? The second one says, East Africa breweries has of late been accused of outsourcing basic services such as transport, distribution, and warehousing to their partners in foreign nations at the expense of local Kenyan-owned players. What measures will you put in place to immediately put this to an end?
Yes, Lee, can you respond to the question by Honorable Mule on behalf of a member of the public and the two from the Deputy Speaker?
Thank you.
And from Owen Bayer.
Thank you. With respect to capital flight, and this refers to huge amounts that foreigners make and they have to repatriate to their countries. I think this is one of the conditions that is cited for ease of doing business. If you allow investors to come into your country and when they make the profits, you deny them to take out, then your ease of doing business goes down. Yes. What we need to do is to offer them alternatives, good attractions, but to bar somebody from taking their money out once they have made it may actually stop them. Because the first reason why they came here was that. I don't want to cite some countries that tried that, where the issue of Forex became a very big challenge, and eventually huge industries that had already set there were crippled. So the ease of capital flow is very important. And if anything, I would be asking, you know, there are some countries out there in the world who have no other business other than you taking your money. So we should create that possibility. Anybody who has money and they want to take it somewhere, it is stable. We won't wake up tomorrow and get insane. This should be the place. Give attractions, interest, stability, all those issues. So I hope I've answered the honourable member with respect to capital flight and contractors and all the others. The retail business, starting with Uchumi and many other retail traders that have come here, I think there's a gap in terms of legislation because a lot of these companies normally start very well, but eventually there's delay in payment of suppliers, and before long, money is diverted and we get into problems. So I think on the area of regulating this area to some reasonable level. And my main concern is when a retail chain goes down with pending bills of maybe 10 billion, that 10 billion, you must look at it in terms of 200,000 to a small guy who will never wake up again, another company that has closed. So when one retail chain goes down, many others go with it. So we need to regulate it, make it profitable, and ensure that there is good governance. While on the same, allow me also to confirm that the existence of these retail chains is actually a channel for selling our goods. When Uchumi was around and we had branches in Uganda, Tanzania, our exports to those countries were much higher than they were. When they closed, there was an immediate shutdown. So it is important to get your brand, because it helps you to be your last connection to the consumers. And as you probably know, if a supermarket chain has origins in a different country, there will be a bias on the kind of goods you find on their shelves. So if you had our Uchumi or any other in Addis Ababa and all those places, then it would mean we have a channel to send our goods. And it's very difficult for a farmer from Naivasha to take his half a pickup all the way to Dar es Salaam. But if there's a drop-off point here in Nairobi where everybody can bring and they're sure they'll be paid in another week or two, then we would change the kind of optics that we have. Then there's a mention of 43 million in foreign trip. I don't recall which year it was, but I would kindly request that a comparison is made with other counties. I suspect this is the lowest ever spent by a governor of a county of Nakuru's magnitude. I took over when it was 300, 400. So I think this should be a compliment. And I want to say in my last 2 years, I only went for 2 trips. And one of them was actually paid by the development partners. So I take that. On EABL outsourcing to outsiders, again, the Honorable Chairman has said there is a law on local content. However, the enforcement is our weakest point. So if indeed, for example, the SGR, we enforced that local content, we would be able to point some 20 billionaires in this city. But because it is there, then you have foreigners who come, register locally, so they say it is a local company, so they beat the system. So we need to find ways in which, if government is investing in a 20 billion project, let there be an Onyango and a Kamau who have emerged out of that. And because we know they will still invest in their rural areas and places around, Kenyans will benefit from that. So there's a need to look at the local content aspect and how it can benefit. And I think this also goes to talk about EABL. I have no evidence as to whether it's happening or not, but just responding to that, together with all the other corporates in Kenya.
Just from a member of the public.
Yeah,
yes.
from a member of the public.
Yes.
We are saying it's good corporate responsibility, you know? If we outsource everything out there and our young people are out here baying for our blood, we are not doing justice to our nation. So I think maybe we should find a way of companies doing returns, saying within this quarter or within this financial year, we are able to work with these companies and we can be able to verify. How this can be done, I am sure legislation can be worked around it. Thank you.
Excellent. One member from Nakuru, perhaps this is your friend. Lee is a very good leader from Nakuru. He always unites all communities, give him an opportunity to serve us. That must be one of your supporters from Nakuru.
My enemies think the same.
Now, Lee, we are coming to... No, we're coming to an end. And I'll ask you a few questions about yourself, then give you an opportunity to make some last wish to this committee. What is your net worth in terms of wealth?
Thank you.
And houses, land, cash at bank, and whatever?
Mr. Chairman, my shares in family businesses are around 399 million, and some apartments worth 80 million. I have a loan of 8 million, and that gives me a modest net worth of 471,972.
For a former governor, that's very modest, I must say.
Yeah.